Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your intergalactic services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, have you heard the one about the deep space probe astronaut who got frozen in time by cosmic forces beyond imagination for 500 years and then woke up in a future society full of horny robots and sexy babes clad in Spandex, all the colours of the rainbow. What a lustful future that would be. Yes, it's Buck Rogers in the 25th century, the TV series from 1979 to 1981. Did it run to? I don't know. It had two seasons. And it had a TV movie which got a theatrical release in the UK. I don't know if it got it in America, I could be wrong about that. And it's basically just two episodes bolted together to make the feature film version of Buck Rogers. Now, Buck Rogers came before Flash Gordon, believe it or not, in 1929. And it was written and serialised in sort of comic strips by Philip Francis Nolan. And it was so successful that it inspired Alex Raymond to do who? Yeah, Flash Gordon. And Flash Gordon became even more successful, so Universal in those fantastic 1930s cliffhanging serials, they did Flash Gordon first. But Buck kept coming up again. So Buster Crabbe, who played Flash Gordon, then his blonde hair was dyed dark brown. Or was he dark brown to begin with and then was dyed blonde as Flash? I can't really remember. And then he played Buck Rogers anyway. So in a similar standard sort of serial, equally as fantastic. But Buck Rogers, the original version, he wasn't a spaceman. He was some kind of like, I don't know, I think he was working for the government and he ends up in a deep mine shaft somewhere in the US. Turn of the century, and I think it's gases that escape which freeze him for, yes, 500 years. And he wakes up in a world, this is 1929, remember, but a world of robots and aliens and galactic wars. Wow. So you can see how this was going to be, there's an idea, there's a gem of an idea there, we can make this into something else. Alex Raymond, Flash Gordon, then, well, Buck came first, so bring Buck back. And he did. And then you got Star Wars and everything, and even before the Sam J. Jones, Dino De Laurentiis, Flash Gordon, you got the Buck Rogers TV show. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. My name's Buck and I'm raring to fly through Saturday afternoon adventures with you, the family. This was goofball fun. The effects were laudable. The script was actually quite, it was knowing, it was reverential, it was, to the mums and the dads. It knew what it was doing and it was having fun doing it. Got to remember, this was back in a period where TV was fun. It didn't have to have a message, a narrative, an agenda. It was just having fun. Listen, the kids, you can watch laser beams and space rockets and starfighters and stargates. And you've got a hero there, clad in skin-tight white, with a little armband. Looks so cool. Looks so cool. I've got to say this right now, that as much as I love Star Trek, and I do, oh I do, but the Star Trek half-mast kecks, and then really bizarre boots that they wore. Oh, the women could wear them. But the blokes wearing them with little wedgy heels and like, what the hell was going on there? But the flight suits, which all our heroes from Buck Rogers wore, white, skin tight. And they kind of tucked themselves into little comfy boots, little comfy shoes with the same ribbed effect and look great, look comfortable. It's white, so for all the endless scuffles you get into, it's going to get a bit tarnished. But there are certain products you can get to bring the dazzling white back in your spin wash, even on a cold wash apparently, And that's even now in the 21st century. I loved it. I remember seeing Buck Rogers 25th Century, the movie, at our local flea pit, the Phoenix, many nights on the run when it first came out. You'd had Star Wars, and this seemed like even to a kid, it was a poor man's version of Star Wars. And yet, it had everything you wanted. And something else which you hadn't expected at that tender age. Babes, namely Erin Grey. Why am I being so, accusatory? It had Erin Grey as Colonel Wilma Deering. Oh, sweet Jesus. Yeah, was she the first love of my life? No, that would be Sarah Jane from Doctor Who, I think. I loved Sabrina Duncan from, I was going to say Starsky Hutch then, from Charlie's Angels. I loved her as well. Not your Farrah Fawcett, it was Sabrina Duncan. Them cheekbones and those eyes, those dazzling eyes. But Erin Grey as Colonel Wilma Deering, whoa, Jesus. The figure-hugging, multicoloured flight suits and weirdness that she put on, as every woman in this series wore. It was a time to revere. And if you weren't there, my sympathies, because us lads grew up very quickly. Bravo to the 25th century. And Billy, Buck, you're my kind of guy. So why am I doing this? Why am I talking about Buck Rogers now? Regular viewers may remember that just before Christmas, a huge crate of stuff arrived from your friend and mine, Astrodyne, a traveller in time, Astrodyne. And it was a crate. Talk about being frozen in time. He sends me these big crates full of cult merchandise, movies, music, t-shirts, figures, statues, just all sorts of stuff. You wouldn't believe. Books, magazines, everything you can think of are crammed into these crates. But he has them stacked up. And the one that he sent only a couple of weeks ago was actually packed and sealed back in 2021. But within it was a box set of season 1 and season 2 of Buck Rogers, the TV show, which I already had anyway, but hey, can't have too much, can you? You can't have too much bang for your buck. And there was a little note attached to it, and it read thus: "Ho, Kilt-Man," which is the typical greeting Astrodyne gives me. Buck Rogers has been donated by my brother Dave. So it's Dave Astrodyne to you and me. And he will be very elated if you can do a review of 2 episodes, season 1, Space Rockers, and also Space Vampire. And cheers to you. Well, I'm now going to review Space Vampire. I will do Space Rockers, but that'll be another one. Because there's so much to pick over in this. This was a season 1 episode. I think it was episode 14. Let me just go to my notes. Episode 14, broadcast January 3rd, 1980. The writers were Kathleen Barnes and David Wise. The director was Larry Stewart. And I'm wearing the Hunting Stewart there. And on my arm, I'm wearing the Royal Stewart. Because their uniform, they had a little sort of rainbow sort of coloured insignia. I'm not going to wear a rainbow insignia. For other reasons. So, I'm wearing the Royal Stewart there. I'm going to go out to the pub like this later. And by the way, you may notice there's a bit of nipplage going on. I'm not sure about that. That might be a bit iffy later on. A bit iffy nipply, but we'll work it out. I'm not even cold. So how am I standing out like bullets? I don't know. I don't get it. And this episode, Space Vampire, was the horror episode. Every TV show would do a horror episode. I think even Magnum PI had a ghostly episode in its run as well. They always do it just to try something new and different. But Buck Rogers was always, it was meeting babes, it was travelling out to space stations and other planets and colonies, and you know, it wasn't so much Monster of the Week, it was just, a lot of it was so goofball. It was a little lad from Different Strokes. Gary Coleman? Is it Coleman? he's in a couple of episodes from Buck Rogers, but he's like this 450-year-old child genius who's a ruler of a planet, but he's also a mischievous little prankster. But Wilma Deering and Buck Rogers and Tweaky grow to love him, and he comes back again. They've saved him from a kidnapping, but it's a guest star of the week sort of thing. And then you got Tweaky's theme. Mel Blanc, of course, does the voice of Tweaky. Bugs Bunny. Did he do Roadrunner as well? And Tweaky was always, what was his name? I've got it written down here as well. Something Silver. Felix Siller played Tweaky, but he's not playing Tweaky in this episode, Space Vampire. He's not. Although if you ask Felix Siller, or if you could possibly communicate with Felix Siller, he said, I played Tweaky in every episode. Well, he did not, because he was playing other small person. He was playing other small characters in other movies around this time, and other TV shows, and even in Buck Rogers, the TV show, he played other characters who were small of stature. So Patty Maloney, a diminutive American actress, was actually in 2, maybe 3 episodes of Buck Rogers playing Tweaky. Still voiced by Mel Blanc, obviously, and you wouldn't know. I mean, Tweaky, usually got, certainly in the early days, he used to have like Dr. Theopolis, which is like a little light up sort of like that Ask Simon game from the 70s, like bolted but strapped onto him like a big electro medallion, and he'd have that. But his mannerisms, Tweaky, you too small, a little bulbous headed little miscreant. It's a little bugger, and he had a thing for the ladies as well. Billy, nice one, Buck, And he loved Tina. Now, Tina was another little robot who appeared in some episodes, and Patty Maloney played Tina in those, but she plays Tweaky in this episode. So, there you go. There's some nuts and bolts out the way. Now, what's the story about? It's a really bizarre reworking of part of Bram Stoker's Dracula and Colin Wilson's Space Vampires. They never admit to the Space Vampires bit, even though it's called Space Vampire. Colin Wilson wrote a book in the 70s called Space Vampires. It was then rechanged and made as a movie called, all together now, Life Force. Yeah. Where the vampires don't drain blood, they drain the life force. And that had come out before this episode, book-wise, and was reasonably successful. Enough to make a movie in the mid-80s. So we've got the influences there, which I'll come on to a lot more. But Space Vampires, Colin Wilson, aka Life Force, and The Voyage of the Demeter, not the bloody film that came out long delayed but last year and was a huge disappointment. But this is a vampire tale set in space. So you've got Buck and Wilma are on. They were going to some planet to do something, but Tweaky developed something. I don't know. He must have put too much lube in a certain orifice, and suddenly, he's a bit too irrigated. So they call into Space Station Theta, and run by Space Station Commander Royko. Is it Royko? Played by Christopher Stone. Christopher Stone, folks, was the husband of Dee Wallace from The Howling, from E.T., from Hills of Eyes, and many, many other movies. She became known as Dee Wallace Stone. Sadly, he died. But he plays Commander Royko. I've heard that the name Royko is from an entrepreneur and entertainer in Chicago. Now, of course, Buck Rogers' 25th Century, the future society, most of the world is irradiated, but you've got the future world defense force. Earth defense is set up in New Chicago, under the auspices of Tim O'Connor as Dr. Hewer. He was a bit of a prick, to be honest. No, he's a lovable sort of guy, but he's the head honcho. But he's always portrayed as being the guy that gives the orders, right? Buck, Wilma, you must go out there and do this. But he's, throughout the episode, his little bits that he's got in, he's an idiot, basically. And this one especially. But Dr. Hewer, it sounds like he's throwing up. Dr. Hewer! And so they've got to call in to Theta Space Station to fix Tweaky. But when they get there, of course, like, Royko, Christopher Stone, knows Wilma. And like, but it's an awkward moment right at the very start, really. They're like, you know, oh my God, oh, Wilma, it's good to see you again. Oh, and Wilma's kind of like swooning. And like, Buck's just stood there like, and she goes like, in that Erin Grey voice. We'll talk about the voice a bit more later. It's important, and so remind me. And she's like going like, it's nice to see you, you know. How have you been? Oh, I've been fine. You know? And Buck's just stood there like going, because you've had this thing, haven't you? Like Buck meets, like Captain Kirk meets and shags every babe, the babe of the week, or at least seemingly gets in there with them. But the ongoing love affair between him and Wilma, which is clearly, you know, it's clearly there. It's written in the stars, and it's up plain to see. He's watching all this sort of thing, like, oh yeah, this is great. Oh, by the way, this is Buck Rogers. Oh, this is the legendary Buck Rogers. You know, Wilma's told me so much about you. When you've been working with Buck for the last most of this season, since he arrived and the Draconians kicked him out and you rescued him and all, and you didn't trust him and all that crap. You know, so what chance have you had to go and see Commander Royko? Hey, let's call the whole thing off. And yeah, I feel like I've known you for hundreds of years. Oh, a little throwaway comedic line there, of which there are many in this show. But they're okay. Like, look, we're just here for a little while, just to fix Tweaky, and but you know, oh, we can. Royko says like we can get Tweaky fixed within a couple of hours, basically, and you can cough. You know what I mean? But Buck's kind of like, well, no, wait, no, take your time with it. You got a casino here, you've got a leisure hive or whatever the hell they call them. You've got fun and games here. We don't have to rush back. You know, we're in no hurry, so take your time. Oh, okay, yeah. But you can kind of sense an undercurrent there that, like, Royko. Is it Royko or Ryko? Let me check my notes. I'm gonna get this right. And what did I write down? Theta Commander, not his name. Anyway, Christopher Stone's kind of like, yeah, all right then, no worries. And next thing you know, because they have Stargates, don't they? You know, and I know you guys probably know this. If you're looking at this, you know Buck Rogers. So if I go off the tangents, off scale, don't worry, I'll get back eventually. They've come to a Stargate and all that, bloosh, and like, bingo, they're there. And they're very convenient Stargates, these things. And they've just no sooner arrived than suddenly, Commander, we've got something happening here. With that kind of music playing as well. And like, what the fuck is this? And a big, huge space freighter is hurtling sort of sideways through the Stargate. Stargate star. When this thing comes through, it's on a direct course for us, Commander. What do we do? It's heading for GH&I quarters. Close them down, shut them down. And then you get a really bad special effect, which looks better in the BBC cult classic sci-fi comedy show, Red Dwarf. And you get this little miniature crashes into one of these struts of this sort of like a landing clamp shaped space station, and it plunges in and then breaks through. And you know, hull integrity has been compromised quite clearly. And but oh, don't worry, it's self-healing. It says Ryko, Stone. But Commander, while we're here, can we help? Oh God, we need you. Yeah. So Buck and Wilma and Tweaky, Tweaky doesn't rush obviously, unless you fucking pick him up and carry him. Or Hare in this case, they get off there and off to the wreckage site. Was anyone hurt? No, we've managed to clear the area just in time. And there were shots of people running down corridors with really big bad 70s hair. This is not 70s hair. Before anyone thinks that or seeks to accuse me, I may have 70s nipples peeking out, but the hair is not 70s. 25th century funk. So this guy runs down the corridor like with hair going like, way, whoa, he's giving it loads. But everyone's been saved, it's all fine. Or is it? Because what was this freighter? What happened? They go into the freighter and it's quite an eerie scene for tea time Saturday afternoon, sort of family fare, and mainly kids sitting there like that, you know, with all their crisps and their bollocks lemonade. Hate lemonade. Milk and cookies in America. No. At that age for me, it was a cup of tea. Literally was a cup of tea. It ain't that way these days. Cheers, y'all. So they go into the wreckage, and there's all like there is bits of shit hanging down, and they've got to creep round and all this like. And there's this talk of like, my God, this ship had ES7 or something like that. Is it ES7 or EL7? Which is a contagious disease which gives you hallucinations. Important this hallucinations and you turn violent and weird and like, yeah, God, yeah. They're drinking this stuff. Why wait for the 25th century? You can have EL7 right now. And they find all bodies, and it's kind of akin to sort of like the Abyss and maybe For Your Eyes Only, where you go in to find a crashed vessel, usually underwater, and there's all bodies there. Like, it's a bit similar to that. And I say that because I've discussed the Abyss and For Your Eyes Only very, very recently. So there's bodies there, and like, oh, well, there's one, there's two, there's three, and then Ryko or Christopher Stone comes back and goes, say, make that 9, because I just found a sick bay full of dead bodies. So like, what the hell happened here? You know, and it is kind of eerie and, you know, whoa, mysterious. But we become aware very quickly that there's something red and orbish moving around, and like sitting in the top corners of rooms and observing one person in particular. And who can blame it? Him, it, whatever it is. It's observing Colonel Wilma Deering. And like, you know, it's almost like, you know, really intense predator feral, turned on vision. It's like ultra red. And like, I'm looking at you. I want you. So there's something aboard now, Theta Station. And, well, we've got to quarantine because there was obviously this disease there. So, no one, that's it. We lock down. No one leaves. No one enters. But have you got a cure for this? Yes, we've got a vaccine, so it should be all right. But we haven't got enough. But we're going to call some more within 24 hours. And during the course of this, it arrives within 24 hours. You don't see it, but you get told it arrives within 24 hours. Hang on a minute. No one leaves. No one enters. But then again, I mean, obviously, they would be inoculated, so yeah, I suppose it's all right. It just seems bizarre. No one leaves. No one enters. And yet, but you're okay. Come on, bring it in. It is not that disease. Billy. Wrong choice, Buck. And but they find all these bodies, and like they get like the commander of the ship, who was a woman. Why am I saying it was a woman? This was the 70s. Well, no, it was 80, wasn't it? But it was probably filmed in 79, something like that. I mean, but you didn't really have women in positions of power so much. Princess Leia. Queen Amidala from this very show itself. Okay, maybe you did. But it wasn't the norm. So a commander of a freighter, being a woman, was quite a nice touch, to be honest, and quite forward thinking, I suppose. And they look at the log. By the way, I should say, the freighter's name is the Demeter. The Demeter is the name of the ship that transports Dracula from, his hometown after a trek through, Eastern Europe down to a nice little harbour. And all his coffins and all his air from his hometown are put on there. And he kills the entire crew en route to Whitby. And then lays siege to Old England. And so this is the Demeter. The Demeter is a ghost ship when it arrives at Whitby, with the captain strapped to the wheel. And you get the captain's log, and that only from the captain's log do you realise something was on board with them, which was taking out people every single night. And no matter what they did, they couldn't stop this. And it's a terrifying chapter in Bram Stoker's Dracula. And so they've riffed on that good style. So this freighter called the Demeter, you have the captain. They play this back, sort of like a ship's log, and it's a bit shit. I'll be honest. She sits there, whoever the actress is, with immaculate hair, and she's like, "There's something happening on board the ship. A couple of the crew have gone sick, and we're going to monitor this." And then the next entry is like, "Now we've lost more members of the crew. We're not sure what's happening." Another entry. We're heading to Stargate. I always thought, how did this fucking thing get to Theta space station because quite clearly she will die. So what the hell? Who commands it? But she does say very, we've programmed it and we're heading towards the Stargate to get to Theta, whatever. And so that is clearly marked in the script. So they've got that covered. And then all the crew's whittled down. And then finally she sits there, and very akin to, remember Lucio Fulci's classic Zombie Flesh Eaters, a film I've covered an enormous amount of times on the channel, and even done a video commentary for as well. The finale of the movie is a radio presenter in New York saying, "We've just heard that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in." Ah! And you hear this. Our heroes hear it over radio broadcast and realise that New York's been overrun by zombies. They're on a boat heading there, and it's very similar to that because but it's visual. She sits there and she's going "It's just me left now. My first mate or whatever it is died last night. Now it's just me." And oh no! And she looks off camera. "Who are you? What do you want? No, leave me!" And then the whole thing warps out. And Buck, Wilma, and Ryko are watching this. Royko are watching it, and they're kind of going. Wilma's like, the thing is, it's shit because they clearly filmed the entire, like me filming this. They just, like me pressing a pause button. No, we lost crew member so and so today. Pause. And then we lost so and so again today. Pause. And there's only 3 of us left. Pause. And her hair doesn't change. Nothing changes. She's in exactly the same spot. There's no difference to it whatsoever. The camera isn't set up any differently. She's not sitting differently. And you just go, "That's shit, that." And it is shit. But anyway, it proves that there's something aboard that freighter. So, now, our heroes, Buck, Wilma, Tweaky, who I think has been fixed up at this stage, they're not with Earth Defence anymore, not in Chicago, but Dr. Hewitt. I think it's time we talk to Dr. Hewitt about this. And Dr. Hewitt, back on Earth, has been given, this is the stupidity of this. He's exposition king, but he's also like the comedic bell end of the show. And he's there with Dr. Theopolis, the little computer thing. Sort of like, the Archimedes, the Hieronymus Bosch of the space age. Knows everything. He can plug into everything. And he's voiced by, find this somewhere, Eric Server did it in the TV movie, theatrical in this country, and the TV show, Eric Server. And just lights up when it speaks. And he's got like books given a rubber plant, a philodendron, and it's died. You know, Buck gave this to me to look after while he was away, and I've done everything. I've fed it, I've watered it, and it's just not working. Dr. Theopolis is going like, well, do you think I should call like an agropologist, you know, to help you out? How dare you, Dr. Theopolis? You know, are you saying that I can't look after something that Buck's given me from his 20th century naturalistic state? You know, sure I can look after this. Dr. Hewitt, would you like me to appoint one now? Yes, please, do it immediately. So you have this ongoing thing when you cut back to Dr. Hewitt, Tim O'Connor, with this, and he's great. I think he's a wonderful character in it, and he does it really well, with this beleaguered, battered rubber plant. So, but he asks, well, this freighter, can you give me the crew roster? This is Buck asking Dr. Hewitt who was on board, because they're all dead, and we've got ES7 or EL7, whatever this fucking disease thing is, and have you got vaccine there? Well, we're getting more in 24 hours. I said that before, didn't I? Right, he comes back with the roster, crew, so crew of 7, or I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but one passenger, and they give the name of this guy. I said, well, what was the thing with him? What kind of passenger? Well, this is the weird thing, Buck. He was a bounty hunter. What? Yeah, he was incriminated in the deaths of his family, his wife and children. He was on a shuttle flight, and his wife and family died under mysterious circumstances. And I think Wilma says something like, "What do you mean mysterious?" With the pin lights in their eyes, Erin Grey, and he goes like, he was eventually acquitted of crimes. He was taken to trial, but he was acquitted, and he said there was something else aboard the ship which caused their deaths, something called a Vorvon. Vorvon, the space vampire. Yeah, it's took us half an hour to get here, hasn't it? But it's space vampire, and so, well, it's a bounty hunter, yeah, but he only became a bounty hunter after this event, because he wanted to track down the fiend that he claimed had killed his family. Right, now he's on board that ship, and so what they do, they find, I think Tweaky found like a little robot droid thing which was deactivated in the quarters of that passenger, the guy that was claimed a Vorvon existed. Because they're going, what's a Vorvon? Buck's like, what kind of language is that? Oh, it's this kind of beast that does whatever. It's just mythology. By the way, they've also pulled the bodies off the freighter, and Dr. Ekbar, Lincoln Kilpatrick, Dr. Ekbar, so there's some kind of, they've been drained of life force. They're kind of not dead, but they're not alive. They're in a zombie-like state. Oh yeah, as a kid you're going like, oh yes, come on, you've got zombies as well. The end theme song from the movie by Kip Lennon, written by show producer Glenn A. Larson. Stu Phillips, who wrote the score for the movie and the TV show, primarily, didn't have a part in this. Didn't like it either. But cheers, y'all. Cheers, Stu. Cheers, Kip. That's dangerous. We're heading into dangerous territory here, as in no whiskey. But yeah, so where are we up to? They've looked at the bodies, and Booker said to Dr. Ekbar, well, what about these things on the neck? Well, I don't know what they are. Oh, what kind of fucking space station doctor is he? Where's his medical doctorate come from? Like, no. Well, they've got all the traditional symptoms, even though they're all dead, supposedly dead. But he says they're in a state between death and like life, but they're just zombie-like. Fucking, isn't that cause for huge concern? And he's like, but what about these things on the neck? Vampire's neck. And he's like, oh, I don't know what they are. So he didn't give a shit, didn't even think to check what these things were. Didn't do any specialised analysis on the neck wounds. They're not bites, by the way. We'll come on to that. But Buck does say, this does remind me of something back from my time and vampires. So, but anyway, they're in a state between life and death. So, Dr. Huber said about this, they get that droid which they found, they go and get that back, and it's recorded what happened in the room when the bounty hunter, the one who claimed a Vorvon, killed his family and kids, and he's staked his life to go and hunt it down, and it's fucking come and got him anyway, because they play it back, and in a great scene, and it actually is pretty good, because this poor guy, the guy who ever plays this bounty hunter, the passenger on the freighter, the Demeter, he turns around and sees something. You watch what the robot's been seeing, and so they're watching on a view screen recording of this, and he goes like, "It's you. I wanted you. I'm gonna kill you," or whatever he says. And next thing, you can't see what's in there with him, and he's getting thrown around, and it's, remember Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead 2 when his hand gets possessed and starts flinging him around, smashing plates, smashing his face into the sink and breaking his teeth. Boom, boom, my teeth. Bruce Campbell says, and then flips him over. Well, this poor guy gets flung into walls. There's no one else. It's him doing it. Flips over. He's all over the place and he's getting battered. And the Buck and Squeaky are like, oh my God, I can't even see what's doing it. He's just imagining it. It must be the ESL. But Buck goes, no, there's someone else in there with him. Yeah. So he then confronts Ryko with his theories. And Ryko's just going yeah, Dr. Ekbar, tell me about your vampire theory. And, Buck, shut up. It's a load of bullshit. But it clearly isn't. All in the meantime, you've had this red orb floating around. And it's in the canteen, it's in the bar, it's in whatever, watching Wilma. And Wilma's getting the jitters, and she's aware that something's around her. And and she's having conversations with Buck. They get those food saucer things, I've got some food sauces here, full of flavour. And that's like a 3-course meal meant to be. Fuck off, You want to chew something, don't you? So. But he's making quips and jokes. And he's like, Wilma, that's the 4th joke I've made, and you haven't even cracked a smile yet. Oh, and she's like, I don't know, Buck. There's something wrong here, and she's doing all this. When you wish she was doing it. But she does see the vampire. Weirdly enough, the red orb that you see, it goes under doors as well. It's watching from a corner and then goes under a door and scoots off. It's very reminiscent of the Star Trek episode of Day of the Dove, where this entity wants to it gets energy of people fighting, so it infiltrates it causes a war between Federation and Klingons, and the Klingons end up on board the Enterprise, and lots of fights ensue. But the fights, everyone who gets killed will come back to life to fight again, because this thing's drawing energy off it, and it's an orb floating around the ship, and but the Klingon commander Kang is played by Michael Ansara. Now Michael Ansara was the Killer Kane for the Draconian Empire of the TV show. In the movie, the 2 bolted together episodes for the theatrical version, the big pilot episode, was played by Henry Silver, the great Henry Silver. But it's just weird that they do kind of reflect this. And Michael Ansara was Kane in the TV show opposite Gil Gerard as Buck and Wilma Deering, Erin Gray as Wilma Deering. And he was also the Klingon commander in Day of the Dove. Connections and everywhere. And so this thing is putting the red-eyed heat on Erin Gray, and who wouldn't? But she sees it as well in the cap. She's talking with Tweaky, and suddenly the red orb becomes the space vampire. Okay, at the 40-minute mark, it's the space vampire moment now, and this guy. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm laughing, but it's goofy as all hell. But it's great at the same time that they're trying to inject this. He's played by, let me get this, where the bloody hell is he? The Vorvon, Nicholas Hallman, a character actor, been in everything on TV, but a guy you wouldn't know, wouldn't recognise, especially not under his fucking makeup. But he looks like, well, here you go. I've done an effigy of him there. That's a Nosferatu mask, but he has bushy eyebrows. He has a bulbous sort of sprout head with these veins, these big veins on it, which look like. Do you remember in Scanners, at the end of Scanners, where Michael Ironside and Stephen Lack have the Darryl Revick and his brother have the big Cameron Vale have the big scanner fight, and their veins protrude. All the veins come up all deep and ruddy and then blue and pulsate. Well, his noggin is like that, like a cross between that and Gollum, with all veins and hairy strands and that, like this big sprout head with big banana-shaped ears, kind of curved backwards, but this massive bushy eyebrow, which is like just crazy. And it's in the same shot every time you see him in sort of his physical form. His eyes glow bright red, you know, and which I don't know if you can see. I've tried to effect the red glowing eyes with little black dots, little black pupils, and no expense spared special effects wise. I've probably spent more on the effects for this setup than they did for the entire episode. Because they also do, when the freighter crashes, it's them throwing themselves around, you know, like Star Trek style. Oh, I still love it then. And so she's seen him, and he's now making moves on her because he wants her. Who doesn't? And he wants her to be joined with him. They can rule the galaxy and take souls and life forces from everybody. Now, in the meantime, Buck has gone back for another illicit sort of search of the Demeter, and he will meet that guy. There he is. I've got to get this right. There he is. And in a terrific sequence, he's in the morgue. Oh, sorry, I've got to say, Dr. Ekbar gets taken down, and in a really great sequence, which looks just like Blackula. In the way it's been handled. Dr. Ekbar is a black guy with a bit of an afro. That's not why I'm saying it looks like Blackula. If you watch Blackula, there's lots of scenes where people sort of creep back and then something comes up behind them. And that's exactly what happens to Dr. Ekbar. And you don't see the Vorvon at this stage. And but Ekbar's doing just testing one of the bodies or whatever. And he turns around. He goes, "What are you doing here? Who are you? What do you want?" Like the girl on the last log entry on the Demeter. But while he's backing off and you can't see what's coming towards him, one of the shrouded corpses from the Demeter, which could actually be the captain, not too sure now, might be just the shroud comes up behind him and goes like that, and you're like, no. It's great. Scenes like that are superb. So then they find that Ryko, Buck, Wilma find that the doctor is sprawled out like that all over one of the operating tables, and you know, what took him down? And Ryko's, well, it's clearly this disease, isn't it? He said, well, what about the marks on his neck? Oh yeah. He told me about your theory about vampires. I think that's how that all comes into pass. But Buck will be. he'll be backed into a corner, and all the corpses rise from their shrouds in a basked in a red light, and it's fucking terrifying, I'll be honest. And I now can't remember if it's genuinely Buck who is in that scene or it's Wilma Deering. Matters not. Buck gets attacked in the freighter again. The Vorvon itself, which we've now seen because it's revealed itself to Wilma, and she's terrified and running and screaming and being like, oh my god, thing, but no one's believing it at all. And but Buck will be attacked by these zombified dead people, these life force sucked out of them, just husks of bodies, and he'd have to have a fight, and he does that. Gil-Gerard and Buck do these little sort of like, he's an astronaut for God's sake, but where did he learn how to do martial arts and stuff? Well, he didn't learn, because what Buck does is just shite. His favourite move is a little spinning and little half-hearted sort of mid-riff, side kick. He spins and does a side kick. It's the most pathetic looking thing ever. But he does it a lot. Does it at least about 3 or 4 times in this episode. And it's bang, and all this kind of shit. But he gets massively done in by all of these risen corpses. And it's great, my God, he's surrounded by these zombified, and they're kind of looking grey and pallid and all that, they're just like not looking straight, they're just like completely at the game, but they get him and all that, and the Vorvon's going to have him as well, you bastard, you will not stand in my way, I want her, I want Wilma Deering, and he does this thing with his fingers, he's got fangs, he's actually got fangs, his look is Nosferatu. It is, or Barlow from Salem's Lot, just with a big sprouty bonce with veins all over it, and the most ridiculous, just stuck on bushy eyebrow. You see what I've done there? That's more convincing than what he did, what they did in the TV show. But he plays it with relish, and when he smiles, he's got fangs. Why has he got fangs? They don't use them. They just do that thing, and he's got big sort of spiky nails, black nails, and he just holds them to the either side of the throat like that. And obviously people go, and the life force is drained from them, but they're not dead because they can then be summoned as his acolytes and disciples. Or maybe you might take too much, and because you're hungry, so you destroy them. But if you want to leave them and say, I can still bring these back, I might have use for you guys, which he has in this movie. But in the meantime, during that big kerfuffle, Buck has found something in the quarters of the guy that was the bounty hunter, and it's like it's a little silver looking thing, fits in your hand. I don't know, go like that with it. I don't know what it is. And he asks Dr. Hewitt when he recovers from it. He's been beaten to pulp and all that. But Dr. Hewitt, I found this. What is this Vorvon thing? Oh, well, Vorvon is it's a mythological creature. It drains the life of people and the life force, and and he goes like a vampire, like a 25th century vampire. You mean? He's like, well, yeah, maybe. How can it be defeated? Well, there's this thing. I found this. Does that look like the thing that can defeat it? And Dr. Hugh's going like on the screen. He's going like, yes, that's the thing. That's the thing that can defeat it. It's so fucking hackneyed. It's so stupid. It can be. How can we kill it? Well, a massive burst of power, or this thing, which, as Buck says, that's a 25th century version of a cross. Because that's how he gets away. When they all surround him, all these guys, he pulls it, and he's being beaten up. He manages to pull this thing out and go, and the Vorvon goes, oh no, and has to back away, become a red ball, and disappear up through the roof cracks or under the doorway. And all the other guys just fall down and sleep again, deaded. It's fucking ridiculous. I can't believe that I'm getting so confused about how this episode actually pans out. Bear with me. It was like, yeah, that thing can, what's it called? It's called a power lock. A power lock. So, it's just a fucking gimmick, innit? It's a MacGuffin. A power lock. And like, it'll scare it away. Won't kill it. Need a direct source of power. And like, so I think he says to Dr. Hugh, like, well, how are we going to do that? Because, you know, I think Dr. Hugh was like, you can't. It'll compromise the space station. So you can't do it. So what Buck does, he and Wilma and Tweaky have been traveling out in this other kind of spacecraft, which he teaches Wilma to learn how to fly during the opening scenes, opening 2 minutes or so. You know, and you're doing really well there, Wilma. And the shuttle at the back flies the same way as well, because it breaks in two. Remember that. So it's like he goes to the shuttle. He goes to this ship they arrived in, and he booby traps it. Right, okay. And this is like really forward thinking. He booby traps. He rigs it up so when it goes through a Stargate, it's going to head. He's going to put the directions, the coordinates to take it straight into a fucking great big sun. Dracula, vampires, daylights, bright lights. You know, was that Gremlins? You know, it's just the Buck Rogers version of Dracula, and so he's rigged up this, and then Wilma gets attacked again, and this Vorvon is stalking her down corridors. No one else can see it. Tweaky can't see it. No one can see it, and she's screaming and shouting. This is a stupid moment. This, how I could pick one stupid moment, but this is a stupid moment, and it's going after her. And she's fighting it off like, oh, I want you, we can rule the galaxy, and all blah, 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 blah. And like, Buck, Ryko! And Buck comes fucking hurtling down corridors, and he sees it. Now, he's already met it and been beaten up by it, and then fought it off. He's got gets his little bastard beam thing out, like, fuck that. The Vorvon destroys that instantly. Just goes, and it's gone. And, but security guards and Ryko arrive around the corner, and like all they can see is Wilma in fear against the door, and Buck standing there with a blaster. Yeah, he's still got a blaster. The Vorvon hasn't got rid of it. That happens later on. And I said, Buck, put it down, Buck, put it down. It's like, what are you doing? She was being attacked. No, Buck, you think she's being attacked, but you've got EL7, ES7, whatever that fucking disease is. And it's like, no, I haven't. Ask her, she's been attacked. And she's like, Wilma's like, it's true, Ryko, it's true. I was attacked. No, Wilma, it's him. He's the danger. He's too dangerous to be running around this space station. He's got this disease. She's telling you the same fucking thing. Anyway, so they arrest Buck and put him under guard in a cell. And she's like, but no, I saw it, it was there. No, Wilma. Oh God, playing favourites. Wilma, look, I think you've got the same disease, but I'm not going to put you under arrest. You know, you can just be confined to your quarters, but don't worry about a thing. We'll look after you. But Buck gets flung into a fucking cell for trying to save it. It's, I don't know. But you've got this love triangle thing, which really doesn't get developed at all. They don't really think about how far you're going to go with that. But anyway, so Buck's looking in a cell with one of them sort of like, you know, laser beam sort of doorways and a guard in a big silly helmet stood outside. And Ryko comes in there like, Buck, you know, look, it's not your fault. Don't worry about a thing. You know, we're going to take care of it. It's just too dangerous. Ryko, there's a vampire running around this ship. I know you like to believe that, but it ain't true. Now, I'm just going to give you this. What the hell is that? It's just a mild sedative. So, and it gets put down. Now, in the meantime, because she's been confined to quarters, the Vorvon finds Wilma, and no one's protecting her. No one can save her. And he puts, not that, he puts the fingers on the throat, and the lovely, lithe and so seductive Erin Grey gets seduced by the space vampire and becomes a space vamp herself. This is where your hormones, your testosterone, just fucking go into lava overflow. She then parades around the space station, takes out the guards who she drains the life of the guards. You don't see it, but she takes great delight in telling Buck that she's just done. I drained the life force out of the guards. The only thing I like best, Buck, the fear. She's gone in there, and like Buck knows, Wilma, are you all right? And she's changed. Her eyes are glowing even more. The pin lights in her eyes. We see all TV shows and movies, especially on this period, pin lights in the eyes. Make the eyes. You can focus on the eyes. And but for Erin Gray especially, who had spectacular eyes to begin with, wow, they really give it loads on her. But her voice changes now. Erin Gray had a sultry, purring voice. It's a strange voice. I've got to be honest with you. You listen to her, big fans will be like, well, that's what she sounds like. I know it's what she sounds like, but it is a strangely, I don't know, lower sort of voice for a woman, but a pair that's inbuilt, and it is a shudderingly sensual delight to hear it. You wouldn't think they'd have to manipulate it. Oh, but they do! Oh, but they do! They give her an even enhanced pairing, deeper reverb on her voice. Fuck, no. Can't do it. I mean, we're not talking Brian Blessed here, like I will kiss you, Buck! And you will die! It's not quite like that. It's deeper, and it's more on a primal level. But it is demonic at the same time. And Buck almost falls for it, but he puts the onto it as well. And what happens then? Yeah, she gets away. Oh yeah, hang on a minute. Raiko arrives. There's like zombified guards outside the door, and he gets in there, and she fucking hails him. Oh my god, she hails Christopher Stone against the wall, and I kid you not, he goes, "Boff!" like that. It's the deck. It's almost like, did you really hit that wall? It can't be solid walls. It's got to be plywood, for God's sake. None of these sets are fucking, sturdy or built to last. They're ramshackle things. But he goes, "Boff!" like that. And like, you go, shit. Hits the deck, and he's dazed as fuck. Like, she gets away, and the vampire comes with it. Like, okay, but fuck that. Fuck them. We'll fly off to other galaxies. We can claim everywhere else. Don't worry about them. So off they go, thundering down a corridor. And I think Buck's like, "Raiko, are you alright?" Yeah, Buck, you were right. Yeah, fucking no. Let's go after them. Come on, call security. So they call security, but all these guards rise up who were like under the thrall of, obviously, the vixen and vampire power that Wilma Deering put on him as a vampirized space babe. And so another fight ensues, and they're smacking these guys around, and Buck's doing his weird little pathetic granny kick. It is shit. It really is. Does it a lot in the show as well. All the episodes. And then they go after him and all that. Like, my God, they've got onto the ship. Oh, it's too late now. Oh, fuck. We've lost Wilma, and the vampires, the Vaughans got away. God knows what could happen. Don't worry, I've booby-trapped it. It's going to fly into the sun. But Wilma's on board. Oh, shit. Right, so he gets on board. It's fantastic Starfighters, which, when you were a kid, you may have had a die-cast version with little figures, very articulated figures of Buck and Wilma, which were only about yay big. And but they were great. They were really detailed. Every joint moved, and the head spun round, and you could put them in the Starfighter. You can buy those Starfighters now. No, they ain't the same. Why? Because the Starfighters in the show have two massive pointy prongs at the front to make them like sleek and aerodynamic, and they're all like that, kind of like that, and they're flying around, a bit like the Vaughn pinch thing. And But now you can't get them like that because they were spiked. It's a weapon, it'd be a double-edged, and it would leave 2 vampire punches, in your throat. Oh, the connections. And but you can buy them now. But what they've done, they've put a die-cast metal piece, like a shelf, connecting the 2 endpoints. So there's no prongs at the end. What a fucking cop-out. Because it isn't how they look, and it's also like, oh, we're going to water down kids' toys now as well. Or, well, I say kids' toys. Big kids' toys. But if you know what you're doing, you can get one of these and you can cut that off. So, the job's a good one. Just saying, folks, just saying. But, so Buck goes into Starfighter, and you go down that big sort of, I don't know, ovarian tube, room extraction channel. They go down, it all lights up, off they go, and they go through the Stargate. But he's pre-programmed it, so it's going to fly into his sun, and so he goes after, because he's got to bring her back, got to save her. You've already heard about the shuttle. The thing will break apart, and she learned how to fly that craft. And he said, like, don't forget, the shuttle's at the back, but the operating system's just the same. So, foreshadowing. So they're heading off into the sun, and so it's right there. Once in a big blazing orb of fire and power. And Vorlon's like, lots of lights going around. Actually looks pretty good. There's all sorts of green lights and white lights crisscrossing him and seemingly going around him. And it's all like that. And she's kind of like coming out of the influence of him. And like she remembers what she's going to do. Like, oh, but I can't stop this. And I think Buck's communicating with her. He's coming up behind, and no, don't make any jokes. And he's like, Wilma, just get into the shuttle, and you can fly it. The thing's gonna break apart in a second. However, he's booby trapped this thing, so she does make it back into there, and the poor Vorlon is like, and she joins Buck, and she's back to normal, and they fly back to the space station, and everyone's happy again. And then next thing you know, we're back on Earth, New Chicago, and they're looking at a sort of vid screen of the space station, and Dr. Ekbar's back to life again. Oh, how is everyone now? Asked Buck and Dr. Hewitt. Everyone's fine. All the who fell, because people were dying on the space station as well. The space vampire was doing his thing. Although a few renegade guards, that was it. But actual crew members, you didn't see any of them. And so everyone's back to normal again. I don't know if he means the crew with the Demeter though. They may have still been deaded, because they were pretty much deaded to begin with. They were more zombified than anyone else. But I don't know, I can't remember. They may have been alright as well. In which case, happy ending all round. Because the TV show was like that, especially during this. If people died, especially in a horror episode like that, they had to water it down at the end. Oh, everyone's back to normal again. It's all great, and like Dr. Ekbar's going like, oh, I'm a bit tired, but I'm back to life again. Just like that Lazarus guy you told me about, Buck. Lazarus, fuck off, lazy ass, more like it. Cheers, y'all. God, I think that's it now. And then you get the tree, the plant, the philandrodon, the rubber plant. And he's going like, oh, Dr. Hewitt, I see you took care of the plant. Oh, yes, Buck, I did everything you said. It's funny how my philandrodon turned into an Indian rubber plant or fucking whatever. And he goes like, everyone's like, oh, happy days, we're all back together again. And I'm like, Tweaky's theme. Folks, Buck Rogers 25th Century is a goofball, camp, excessively sexy and genuinely great fun. And this episode is the horror episode, as I keep on saying. And it works. There's a genuine eeriness to certain scenes, creeping around the Demeter space freighter. And as daft as the space vampire looks, the guy playing him, Nicholas Horman, is it? Nicholas Horman, is doing it with relish. But the makeup ain't so bad. The bushy eyebrows are a bit ridiculous. The teeth, why has he got him? Doesn't use them. It's his finger manipulation thing. Flight force. But he wears this ridiculous costume with big high collars. It's clearly meant to evoke, Dracula, Bela Lugosi, or Christopher Lee in a cape and black stuff. But you see him striding around, following Erin Grey, pursuing her, stalking her. It's not exactly threatening. Maybe when you're a kid, certainly not now. But he does say, this is the form I choose to have when I want my victims to see me. This is the form I take. Obviously, in this show, he delivers that line a lot better than I just did. But so he chooses that fucking shit. Why would he choose that? Especially when you've got delectable human beings. Wouldn't you think you'd be like, well, I'm gonna look more sexy and sensual. I want to look like something that's gonna attract, my intended victim, whatever sex. I want to look like one of you guys, but just more sexier. But not with like these big fucking banana ears and the big pulsing brain sack thing, and a massive 70s porno fucking pubic bush strapped to me, the tops of my eyes. It's. Oh, why have I got these fangs? I don't ever fucking use them. Or maybe it's meant to be something like an evolution. I've learned that I can do the same thing with these. No, it's a TV show, folks. And it's genuinely good fun. I had a great time revisiting this. And I will definitely watch more Buck Rogers. I love Buck Rogers. I always did love Buck Rogers because this book, he's raring to, of course he is. He's just a horny astronaut. He's got 500 years to catch up on, and then he's confronted with these waves of, uber tight-fitting, sexy costumes, and the babes that are in them are thrusting themselves out. You got Queen Amidala as well, like with a fairy sort of princess's helmet and a fairy bikini and all that, like, and the whole dance scene where they're doing that stupid thing with the glowing ball, and they're all dancing around. Really fucking shit, And he's going like, to the band, can you play a bit of rock, And they're going like, rock? Like, come on, I can't click your fingers because like that. And the guy goes, he goes, no, not that. Come on, let's get down. Get funky. And Bucks, and they do get it. After one classical fuck up, they get it, they nail it on the next beat. So Bucks like that, giving it loads. And Queen Amidala wearing next to nothing, just going like, what are you doing? It's like, this is called getting down. That's what we used to do. You should try it. Well, what if we bump together? Oh, that's the name of the game, lady. Like, Billy. Got the way, Tweaky. This is my fucking job here. Fuck off, find your own. And but it is great. And you got Wilma Deering in that scene. She's going, it's disgusting. But she fucking fancies the arse off him. Like, it's great. You want Tweaky as a wingman. Tweaky just fucking goes up to the birds. Billy. You see my mate Kilt-Man? He wants your ass. I'm sorry, I'm definitely fantasizing now, but there you go. Yeah, I'm out of this stuff. That's call time on this. So the box sets are on DVD and Blu-ray of Buck Rogers 21st Century TV show and the actual pilot episodes and all that. So they are great. They are a time capsule. Oh, how appropriate. They are a time capsule of an era. I mean, he was a man out of time, thrust 500 years later. But when you watch it, it's very clearly a show of the late 70s, early 80s. It's exactly that. And as with that in mind, it works supremely well. It's about not a monster of the week, a babe of the week. And the guest stars, you had enormous amounts of guest stars on it. They were great. Season 2 went into a bit, I don't know, you had Hawk, who looks like a cross between Sam the Eagle and, oh God, who else? Can't think now. But Sam the Eagle from the Muppets is definitely part of the look. Clancy Brown looks a bit like Clancy Brown, the Kurgan from Highlander, and of course many other movies. And but Clancy Brown and Sam the Eagle converge and become Hawk, who's their buddy. They go on a deep space mission in fucking season 2, but it that did not do as well. Although I loved Hawk as a character. He loses his babe, doesn't he? And they view him as an enemy. Then they realise he's a good guy, and he joins them. Goes on a new crusade. But we'll look into some of these things at some point. There's another one to review called Space Rockers. That should be fun. That should be fun. This is all for Dave, Astrodyne's brother. So Dave, hope you enjoyed it. Billy, nice one, Dave. He said when he first meets Christopher Stone's Ryko, he's like, "This is Tweaky." He's like, this fucking little thing, like, he's like, Billy. My voice is going now. I'm doing the Billies. Mel Blanc must have had a throat of like oscillating lava, because my throat's gone ragged now just from the Billies. Give me 5, my man. And like Christopher Stone's like, what? And a big metal hand goes on his hand. He's like, fucking hell, you just took me fingers off there, you little bastard. But great fun. Loved it, and there'll be more. So there you go, folks. That was Buck Rogers in the 25th Century Space Vampire. You heard the score to the actual movie, and a couple of snippets I found of other episodes thrown in there. I can't find the score itself for Space Vampire. Although it does have some eerie moments, sound design wise. So, it's a nice Buck Rogers take on the Demeter and Dracula. And yeah, there you go. And you get to see Erin Grey possibly at her sexiest. It's a brief scene where she's like putting the voice on, and she's a pure space vamp, a space minx. Anyway, there you go, folks. I have been always Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, this ever Stargate embracing in between time, please keep it kilted, keep it kilting, and I'm going to see you all. And did I mention who did the voiceover at the start? It's William what's his name? Fucking hell, not William Conrad. What's his fucking... It is William Conrad. I mean, little notes. William Conrad, Frank Cannon, the great big guy with a big moustache. It's almost like they took the moustache off Cannon and stuck it on the fucking FOD of our space vampire. But it's great, good fun. I'm going to see you all later. I'm going. Ta-da. This is the draconian theme.